Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to the Mobile Gaming Growth Strategies panel. And this panel is going to cover a holistic approach to growth from both sides of the install. We're going to talk about market trends, acquisition targeting strategies, engagement best practices, and of course, ATT and IDFA deprecation. But first, let's get to know our amazing experts. Marius, you're there looking amazing. Why don't you kick it off for us? Give us a brief, we can read the book later. Give us a brief intro of who you are, where you work, and what's your favorite app that's not, well, and everyone say, what's your favorite app that's not yours? Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Mariusz. I work with mobile gaming in the region, leading apps and gaming strategies at Google for Startups and Google. So on one side, I work with bigger clients with Google at the C region, and then on the other hand, I'm supporting growth of smaller ones. And on the same side, I'm founder of something that is called Game Camp, which is one of the biggest network of mobile gaming specialists focused on business aspects of mobile gaming. And in terms of apps, I love with kind of, I work and play in a lot of games related especially to puzzles. So I love word games and all that stuff related to wordscapes and similar games, actually.
Awesome. Galina, in the amazing, outstanding, spacious SplitMetrics office, or at least virtual office, do you mind going next?
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Hi, Louis. Hi, everybody. My name is Galina Schneider. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at SplitMetrics here in our wonderful virtual office. I have an over 10 years experience in digital marketing. I started in the online gaming startup. That was really fun times back in the days, and then moved to the mobile space. And I'm very passionate about mobile industry as a whole, and I love helping great app developers get their apps discovered and grow and scale, paid or organic, both. Anything, basically starting from app store optimization and ending up with the user acquisition tactics. And coming to apps, well, already some of my colleagues mentioned Spotify. I love Spotify when it's not the gaming app because I'm a big fan of podcasts. And for gaming, I love the detective stories with the hidden object games.
Awesome. Adam, there you are with your amazing curtain. Would you like to go next?
It is a beautiful curtain, isn't it? Hi, everyone. I'm Adam. I'm the Director of Product for Gaming for AppsFlyer. So what that means is it's basically my job to keep track of the whole gaming industry and to work on AppsFlyer's solutions as the gaming industry progresses and where we can fit in to help customers. I've been working in gaming for around 13 years, but enjoying gaming since probably the age of 3. In terms of apps, I would have to say Raid. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm very, very, very into Pilarium's Raid Shadow Legends.
Great. 3 years old, so you were a late adopter, obviously.
They didn't exist back then.
All right, Jatin, you're over there in your virtual world of floating bubbles for MoEngage. Would you like to cap us off here?
Absolutely. Good to see you, Louis. And do you see the halo behind me?
I do. You're like holy.
Hey, hi, everyone. My name is Jatin. By way of introduction, I manage the growth efforts for us in North America here at MoEngage. For the uninitiated, MoEngage is one of the world's largest marketing automation platform. We work with gaming publishers and brands, how to make the most sense of the existing first party and zero party data. That's what we do. The app that I like the most is actually a game, Clash of Clans. I'm sure everyone has played it at some point. Looking forward to learn a lot about, more about the app business from you guys.
Great. Awesome. We're going to move on to our first question. So the gaming industry is dynamic and competitive. mobile gamers have spent $41.2 billion during the first half of 2022 alone, and this number is set to reach $138 billion by 2025. So that's according to Sensor Tower. So if it doesn't happen, go to Sensor Tower and say, hey, your projections are wrong. No, I'm kidding. They're awesome. So in this ever-changing app ecosystem, growth-minded publishers have evolved from just developing great gaming apps to building great gaming businesses. So Marius, after my long introduction, would you like to feel, how do you feel that the trends which are driving the mobile game market now, and what future growth opportunities can they open up?
Yeah, I think it's like, very broad question, and broad topic, but in my opinion, can be divided into three parts, at least the three areas. I would say the first one is like, the entertainment related and kind of COVID related. The second one is like more technology related, and the third one is more like, gaming and market related. Yeah, I think the first one is related around entertainment. Yeah, so if we look at the data shows that live event booking industry like fell down in terms of booking in 2020 by 77%. Yeah, in some countries like US and in UK it was even more. Yeah, so like for example, the cinema industry in 2019 was almost 45 billion USD, and in 2020 it was a little bit more than 12. Yes, of course, then it had quite significant impact in terms of what users were spending on, how they were spending, and in some way we see the effect of it in today's year in mobile gaming. Yeah, because in general mobile games are competing with other types of entertainment. Yeah, so that's why I would say I think this year some numbers are down because of that situation, but they will be much better in the next months. Yeah, that's one part. I think the second part is more related to technology, and we see more and more signals. For example, like very interesting like Unity research showing that a lot of this mobile gaming growth is coming, for example, from multiplayer gaming growth. Yeah, and if we add to that point that, for example, like the projections for 5G are actually increasing between like 2021 2024 like by more than double, coming to like almost like 70% in countries like 70% of reach in countries like US. That of course will have a lot of influence on gaming, like giving opportunity to give much richer experience to players, giving them almost like with Wi-Fi like experience in any place they are. Yes, so like 5G actually, if you look at the download speed, it has even higher speed than the download speed in public Wi-Fi and then home. Yeah, and the third one I think is related in general to gaming, when we see growth of specific genres that is like lower or like higher than average. So we see that, for example, like at least from my perspective, those genres that are very well driven, IP driven, are a little bit more impacted by the last month's changes than, for example, ads-driven and hybrid-driven games. And I think, again, it's coming from that entertainment-related topics. Yeah, that in some ways we see that the shift of those spending. So again, I would look at those areas, and I think for many games topics like hybrid monetizations, trying to adjust to these technology changes, and trying to understand that even temporary challenges that we see now in the mobile gaming is just coming from really high base from the pre-COVID and COVID area. Yeah.
Great. Galina, would you like to add a few thoughts as well?
Yeah, thanks, Louis, and thank you, Marius, for great insights. I would probably like to pick up on the monetization topic, because I actually find it as a great advance and advice to game studios and marketers is to be adaptable, not to put all the eggs in one basket, so to say, and be ready to tweak their user acquisition and monetization approaches. So they should closely monitor the performance of their monetization strategies and not rely just on one app store to distribute games and go rather to several stores, creating multiple scalable revenue stream for different audiences. I'm talking here like in-app purchases and in-app advertising and the subscription-based games, premium games, and so on. And that, of course, includes detailed pre-launch strategy, audience testing, further down the funnel, the full user funnel optimization, which is obviously something they should be looking into. And another trend that I actually find very, very interesting is the industry giants entering the gaming industry. We had Facebook already on the ground, so there is Netflix, Amazon, TikTok, and it's definitely gonna like disrupt the industry. It's gonna make an impact, and especially from the discoverability point of view, as I see that, because like the smaller studios, they wouldn't have to compete only with like the big gaming companies, but also like those really world-known brands. And that puts discoverability even higher in the priority for marketers in 2023, as I can see that.
Awesome. So let's move on slightly. So let's talk about the UA channel mix now. So according to AppsFlyer's State of Gaming App Marketing in 2022, and pay attention to this, you're going to get quizzed later on this. So the total gaming app installs in 2021 was 29 billion, with 13 billion of those non-organic installs. So how do we define the right channel to acquire high value players in a post-IDFA world? Luckily for us, Adam Smart is here, and he's pretty smart, and he's going to tell us about this. Adam, please share your thoughts.
It's just in the name. It's just in the name. All right, look, to be clear, I want to, first of all, post-IDFA world, those users still exist. Like, the users haven't disappeared from iOS. They're still there. They're still spending money. They're still installing apps. So that's the first thing that we need to kind of get our heads around. What has changed is the measurement has just got an awful lot harder for everybody across the board. When you're looking at how to move forward, it's more about knowing your target demographic, actually understanding who's playing your game or who you're targeting your game at, I suppose, and being able to reach them in a contextual way. You need to understand where your players are in order to be able to understand where to put ads. So when you're thinking about your target demographic, you want to find places that resonate with their likes and interests as well. Obviously, when you're trying to resonate with your audience, you've got two to three main areas of control, let's say. You've got the where, which is finding somewhere to put it where the user is going to understand the context of it. When to show that advert across to the user, what time of day, seasonality, all of that kind of stuff, and what, making the creative applicable to that user so that they resonate with it.
Awesome. So since you mentioned about targeting, let's keep that trend going. Let's talk about finding the right target audience. So to know where you're going to be spending your ad money and organic marketing efforts, we have to find a good audience to go after, obviously. So this is only part of the job, though. We also have to study their likes, dislikes when it comes to art, music, mobile gaming mechanics, et cetera, and what mobile device they tend to use. So Galina, it's time for a comeback. You got a beautiful plant back there. I have a plant next to me too, but you can't see it because I'm in my little metaverse world over here. But let's see, can you help us and educate us on how mobile game developers and publishers can find and test these new audience segments, and what's your recommendation on this to ensure that it's done correctly?
Super happy to share, Lee. So yay, I'm back with my plant. So there are actually, of course, multiple ways to gain a new audience. So most commonly used are porting the mobile game to other devices, going to other stores, becoming cross-platform, penetrating new markets, or, for example, expanding your current audience. So first, as a marketer, you would want to choose the way to go. Better to iterate one by one and not to try all those vectors simultaneously. Second, trust your gut feeling, but only if it's backed by the data. I mean, that's probably going to be hearing everywhere. The data is the key. And so you should never rely on assumptions in the market or thoughts like, ah, that worked for Candy Crush 3 years ago, definitely going to work for me. It won't. So it should be always going on with continuous testing of the new segment. So testing, never stop testing, try new things. And if you struggle to develop new hypotheses, you can get professionals to help you, or just make a brainstorm session with your team. Just an example, I'm kind of an example person, like with the to showcase. So the example of the pre-install testing from one of the game publishers, they wanted to extend their audience. And they started with identifying 2 user archetypes and 2 different supportive messages. So people aged 40-50 with a motivation of challenge. And the other one, people over 50 with self-improvement messages, sharpen your mind, be the best, and so on. And as a result, the game publisher had an improvement of the 30% of one of the variations, the second one actually, with sharpen your mind, which helped go into this new audience efficiently and not spending a lot of user acquisition budget right away, just before they actually knew what would work. And here I'm going to the other part that is very important, is using granular engagement data for the full funnel to evaluate pre-install and post-install behavior. So I'm talking about the asset CVR to start with, and following with the product page in the App Store and the engagement there, and the post-install actions, which can be short-term and long-term. And in addition, it's important to make sure that you as a marketer is comparing your results with the industry benchmarks for your vertical to know where exactly you stand. Also, considering both web and mobile audiences in the segmentation strategy is a very good thing nowadays to try. And don't forget about the custom product pages. It's a great way to actually personalize your approach to different target audiences.
And actually, maybe I would add one thing into the point. Yes, I think like quite important one. Yes, so at least in my opinion. Yes, so I think over the last months and over the last years, the history was about really delivering, high-end engagement and engaging experiences to specific niches and specific audiences. But if you look at the last years and the biggest success in the gaming, it seems to be that the biggest successes were actually coming from the cases when on one side was someone was able to deliver those these deep experiences to the specific audience, but on the other hand was able to extend that audience. That of course was was able to decrease the cost of the user, increase the potential ROAS, and all those things that actually are I would say are much easier if actually are able to extend the audience and try to kind of create the game for much wider audiences.
Okay, we're nearing the last half of the session. So if you got questions, audience, put them below or to the side or wherever your component is. Actually, let's take a question right now, just so we can make sure that everyone gets their questions addressed. Jess Potts. Hey, Jess, what's up? We just saw you in AGS London. If your CPPs are completely different to your default creative, in other words, one is a black background, the other's pink, do you think this will have a negative impact? Who wants to take that answer? All right, well, how about this? I'll write this down and I'll find an answer for you, and I'll ask some people. We'll get back to you, Jess. I'll contact you because I have your contact. All right, moving on. Engagement insights. So we went pre-install, some targeting, things like that. Now we're going to get into some engagement insights. One thing that's missing here, because we don't have all the time to discuss everything, is onboarding and first user experience. So I'll just plop this in real quick to say, like, the user's first experience, extremely important. Think about how you structure, in this case, we're talking about games, how you structure your game so that their first experience, they can get some wins in there, because that'll help increase their engagement and retention overall. But if you want to talk more about that, I'll nerd out with you on LinkedIn, so get me there. But engagement insights. So good retention builds player loyalty and fosters a strong community. Accessing the right engagement insights can help your business prioritize the features and the updates to keep players coming back and back and back and back and staying connected. So Jen, now you've been there patient. Now it's your time to shine. The floor is yours. So could you please share your tips on how mobile game developers and publishers can create a database strategy to increase engagement and revenue?
Absolutely. Thank you, Louis and Jess. Quick one. I think a lot of our gaming clients, the clients that we work with, focus on A/B testing, the only way for them to test. So there is something in the gaming piece. It's called locales, which actually helps them try and customize and personalize. Probably a good segue of what I'm going to talk about next, and to answer Louis' question. So that is something that you should definitely look at if you are a gaming publisher. Coming to your question, Louis, I think first thing that we should do is get all your data in one place, right? The only recommendation that I have, first good baby step for a gaming publisher or a gaming developer is get all your data in one place. So today they are likely collecting a lot of data, collecting demographics, behavioral data, transactional behavior, non-transactional behavior, usage data, campaign data, etc. Right? So it relates to many, many marketing messages that are sent, the way you're engaging with your customers, etc. So getting to know your customer is really the first good step in order to get that database strategy. Once you have the data in one place, of course, the next step is to segment, to slice and dice the customers basis their, transactional behavior as well as non-transactional behavior. I'll give one example. One large gaming client that we work with, and this probably again, Jess, targeted the question, that you had just asked, is, the client basically wanted share of vision, which essentially meant is if I'm spending, let's say, 3 hours on gaming apps, what is the time that is being spent on my app, right? So to actually help solve that problem, what they ended up doing was they ended up creating 300 different micro segments. What they called this is, this exercise as creating a segment of one. Once you do that, it really helps you send the right message to the right customer through the right channel and at the right time. Taking a personalized strategy will foster more engagement and ultimately, more revenue, more loyalty for your customers, because, you have to make it more contextual, more personalized, more relevant to each individual gamers to address their preferences.
And I would like to add for Jess over there, if your custom product pages that you're doing are completely different from your default creative, I'm just going to go on. Obviously, everything depends, but consistency is key in campaigns. The more consistent your story is from your advertising to your landing page, in this case, CPPs, then the more likely you are to get conversions. So if your default creative is completely different experience, so when they go on one particular CPP, you might see less of a conversion than if it was more consistent all the way through. So hopefully that adds something.
Maybe to add to that and build on that. Yeah,
yes.
I think we see, of course, a lot of stories when changing one specific element can really influence the result and so on. But at least from my experience, it's not usually the case. Yeah, so it might happen, but mostly it's not really changing just one element like background or like one specific topic is really changing the data significantly. What is really changing the data is really changing the story, changing the specific point towards specific audience, yeah, which like different type of audience, they value different things differently, yeah? Which means like one user is more focused on, let's say, free shipping. The other one is more focused on speed. The other one is focused on specific insurance and security related to that. Yes, so I think again, from my experience, it's way better to try to focus on the specific messages to specific audiences than just on really operational parts of it, which is like background, color, or similar topics.
Great.
Please. Sorry, I think there were a couple of questions addressed at me. So Mohammed Abd El Khalik asked, a question which is dividing them basis behavioral segments. So of course, so there are multiple ways you could achieve this. I'm going to call you Mo because Mo is the name of my favorite footballer. So Mo, that essentially means is, so you can actually achieve this either by creating behavioral as well as non-behavioral static segments. So think of this as customers, give them scores for basis their recency, frequency, and their monetary value. whether, you've been able to monetize those customers who are loyal, spending more than, whatever the lifetime value or average time spent at the app. And then customers who are also at the fence of becoming, basis their usage, customers who are on the fence of becoming a loyal customers. Now, these are the customers who are at the fence. You have to kind of reel them in. So, multiple ways you could do this. RFM segment is one example. Creating funnels for your customers is second example. One example that I tell and recommend each of my gaming clients is create affinity-based segments. So customers who have, who predominantly use the app or open the app on Sundays between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., click on a particular ad and, watch the complete ad, at least more than 75%, should get that particular promo from you, right? So these are the ways in which you can reel them in. Go as micro as you can, use affinity-based segments, use a tool that can actually help you do that can allow you to automate this, and help you personalize at scale. I hope that answers your question. And I promise I'll not take more than 10 seconds. Ann Smith asked how to grow a hyper casual game when the genre is extremely crowded. Very similar example. Look at funnels, look at where the customers are dropping out. You should have the ability to create campaigns on the fly. Otherwise, by the time you export lists and import lists and send out the campaigns, they're already gone, right? So look at, a tool, or look at ways in which you can automate and personalize at scale.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do since we're getting short on time. Adam,
I was just going to add with the hyper casual.
All right, perfect.
To really look at using sources of advertising which aren't oversaturated at the moment. So influencers are a great one. If you can find a few small influencers with large followings, you can draw massive traffic to your app. I'll keep it short.
Yeah, exactly. So great. Since you have kept it short, Adam, I'll give you one more question. So here's how we're going to do it since we're short on time. Ask every single question that you got in your brain, audience, and we will copy them down and we'll get to answering them, and we'll either get you on LinkedIn or the SplitMetrics team will be able to reply back. But this way we can make sure that everyone who asks a question gets an answer. So don't think we're going to run out of time and then you missed it. We will get back to you. Don't worry about it. Now, Adam, we haven't talked about any of this IAA, IAP, and all these other initials. So according to 62% of the developers surveyed, a combination of IAA and IAP is the best strategy to lots of initials here to meet both ARPDAU and retention targets at game launch. So Adam, please help make this translate to us. What role should in-app ads play in the monetization mix? And what is your advice, mobile game leaders looking to create new revenue streams beyond AII and AAP?
Cool. Yeah, there are a lot of acronyms there. So just to be clear, it's in-app ads, which is a revenue source, and in-app payments, which is another revenue source. So
that's why you're Adam Smart.
With the red curtain. So
yes.
It really does depend on the type of app that you're running. Like you need to think very carefully when you're looking at putting in-app ads in as to whether your users would be used to seeing them in apps that they play, or whether it would be completely foreign and they would actually hate the experience. So just taking one that I've seen recently, Survivor.io, been playing it quite a lot, probably with a lot of other people recently. It's, as a gamer, I generally hate ads that pop up. And anything that interrupt gameplay really annoys me. They've done it in such a way that it encourages you to watch the ad in order to get a reward. There's a very nice way of doing it, and it's a very inclusive way of doing it, and it makes me want to do that in order to be able to continue the game that I'm playing. I think a lot of it depends on your implementation of it, and whether it connects to your audience, and it's knowing your audience of the app in order to put them in the first place.
Great. So again, please dump in all your questions in the chat so we can make sure that they're answered. If you could leave the audience with like one one best practice to take away. Obviously, everyone's got a different perspective here. Let's start off with Galina, since you haven't spoken in like a few minutes. So let's start off with you. Final thoughts, please, and we'll do about a minute each.
Sure. I was busy writing actually, so I was making sure that some questions are being answered. Yeah. Well, choosing one is hard. I think I would go with.
For you, we can have two.
Yeah. Staying adaptable. Like really, in the era where we are now, it's post DFA privacy. Things are changing. Big players are on the market. It's really keep your eyes open for opportunities, stay adaptable, do not rely on only one strategy, try to spread out your ideas and the ways you monetize, create several revenue streams for your game. Yeah, I think that's it. It's not one, it's even more in one.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's see, Marius, you've been the second less frequent talker from the recent stuff, so you're next.
Like the thing that I would look at is the like financial part of this whole game. Yes, so I think, like, you know, in the recent months, the era of cheap money is actually gone, which means that potential risk of different like potential activities, like, you know, the long-term ROAS, testing, and all those different topics that have specific risk and long and middle term approach is just higher, which means that it requires much more thinking in terms of, okay, what is my cash flow, how I can balance my cash flow, how I can balance my short-term revenue versus long-term revenue. Even the topics like was mentioned in the chat, like, okay, should I go more after more innovative ideas that are more risky, but then potential outcome is higher, or maybe it's just better to focus on something people know already, and then of course the potential and the chance that I will create something big is of course much lower. Yeah, but I think I really encourage you to think not just only to hire the next, you know, UA person or like data analyst, but, you know, thinking, okay, do you have CFO? Do you have someone who is like looking at not just how much is your revenue, but when that revenue will land on your bank account, for example. Yeah, because I think that's a really important topic.
Great. Let's jump over to Jetin. If you got 60 seconds left to leave us with one final thought.
You know, the ad revenue from games is probably higher than ever, you know, thanks to the nationwide lockdowns and a bunch of other things. This is the right space and this is the right time to be in the space. And that's my personal opinion, of course. You know, look at the overall gaming strategy as a life cycle, wherein, you know, if you're doing ad monetization, be highly contextual about it. You know, but make sure that, you know, highly contextual, how you're rewarding the existing customers, how you're rewarding the customers who are on the fence, leverage video ads, interstitial ads that focus on rewards or premium features, banners with click-through rates, getting more awareness, you know, about the differentiators of, you know, what your game should look like, etc. Make it very, very, very contextual, you know, and to the point. I guess my 60 seconds are over.
So Adam, on your final thoughts, why don't you help us figure out how to do those two things?
Cool. All right. So we talked earlier about KPIs and benchmarking. I'd like to, as I am AppsFlyer, I would like to point out that AppsFlyer has a fantastic tool for this. It's the benchmarking tool, and feel free to dive into it and take a look.
Awesome. So now we've come to the too short. We could do this all day long. My amazing panelists are all outstanding. I hope to see you all at an AppGrowth Summit event